in your opinion, what do you think large corporates or enterprises such as Tech Mahindra play a role in ensuring that the overall India AI mission translates into reality?
I think great question, Ganesh. I think we are one of the three pillars for a democracy to work, right? We are the corporates. The democracy runs on three pillars of policy and governance by the government,
Right.
and also the academia, where we treat and skill our next generation. I think the corporates have to play a very pivotal role in trying to match and bridge the gap between the two. For one, I think we employ a lot of people, a lot of youngsters who actually come and also work with us, with our customers. One is a sense of upskilling in terms of what we want to do with AI. What are the pitfalls for AI? How they have to be accountable. I think the last economic era where India became the development hub for the world
Right.
also was not very accountable in terms of what they produce.
Right.
And now in the era of AI, we just have to become more accountable in terms of what we produce for the world. So I think that is one kind of skilling, or maybe if you may say a kind of awareness that needs to be given to a large population that works with us as a corporate. I think the second is obviously to pick up these young minds which are working in academia who are trying to do startups. So we lend a hand to the academic institution in terms of bringing up the startups, right? So India also runs on a TRL, or a technology readiness level, which was given by NASA. So we have 0 to 9, facets or steps. 0 to 3 or 0 to 4 is largely what the students do.
Right.
Like you've got an idea, you've got a hypothesis, you build something in a lab. The 4 to 7 is something where the idea matures, and 4 to 7 is also called the valley of death. Most of the ideas go down within the 4 to 7 range. 7 to 9 is when the corporates lend a hand and then say now it's available for mass production, etc. So I think corporates have to extend their hands beyond that 7 line and say we are ready to pick you up from the 6th.
Right.
The academia has to make sure that their students reach up to line 5, 4 or 5, so that gap gets lesser.
Okay.
And academia and industry there works together. So I think corporates play a huge role in making sure that all that is brewing in the startups, all that is brewing up in these young minds in academia, how do we ensure that this actually diffuses back into the society and into the businesses that we are? I think that's a huge role that we play. And of course, the third role that we are playing, but we should play a little bit more, is to also participate in terms of policy making with the government. I think the government's job is to define the policy. The corporate's job and the job for the other people is to execute that policy.
Right.
But in certain cases, we find that the policies could be molded
Right.
in terms of what we see on practical life. So I think that's where we become a kind of glue between these two systems to run a democracy. So I think that is something that corporates should do. And I think if I may want to add last is, I think corporates now need to start thinking around research and development. I think there's a lot of R&D. I don't know whether there was a report about a couple of weeks back where there's only one organization in this country which actually spends a lot of money, 85% in terms of research.
Okay.
The others formulate just the 15%, and otherwise the research happens from the government sector. How do corporates bring out that research facet more? How are government policies attuned to help corporates to enable them to research this more? Because there's no ROI for research.
Right.
And it's not a quarterly ROI, it will actually come after 1 year or 2 years.
Right.
How do we bridge this gap is something that also the corporates have to raise that voice in terms of what we do. So I think that is what we can play as a corporate.
I think you've been very humble about not speaking about Makers Lab. So do you want to just touch upon that a little?
No, I think Makers Lab was probably an idea, and it brewed up when I was in US. And I think I've told in a lot of places, I got a lot of inspiration from when I visited AT&T Foundry.
Okay.
So I was working with them. One of the things and one of the humbling experience that I got in the foundry was, moment you enter into the foundry, there are already some Nobel laureates and their pictures there.
Okay.
So you know that there's an organization who's actually created these Nobel laureates, right? Bell Labs, for example, was known. Dennis Ritchie is known for creating C, if everybody is a software programmer. All of them have come out of Bell Labs. So one of the things that I wanted to do was come back to India and start a research organization that actually feeds in something like this.
Right.
So that was the whole idea. Obviously, situation was ripe in 2014, so I came back. But yeah, Makers Lab has been on the cutting edge. I think we treat things in a very different manner. We obviously acknowledge what the world has done. We acknowledge how things are moving across. Everybody's trying to do in tech. We just have a very peculiar way of saying, sometimes you may look at it as a disdain and you say, so what? And that's a question that we continuously ask amongst us. So what if somebody has done it? Is there another way or another gap, right? Can I make it much more fruitful? Can I make it much more sustainable? I think that is the reason why Makers Lab still survives, and there are a lot of youngsters who became trainees and interns in the lab have now joined as full-time employees. Because it's not just about the remuneration that you get from an organization. It's also your own personal interest of a vision that you want to create something new. You want to leave this world with some mark saying, I did something in Indus, or I did something in a particular project that you've done. I think that is what drives humanity in general. So Makers Lab is largely about saying, how do you get the best out of humanity?
Right.
How do you fail 99 times out of 100? But that one success that you get out of 100 is good enough for you to tell the world that you've done something better, right? In terms of